Have you ever noticed the scariest things in life are those that you don't understand? The mind is a powerful tool and is not just the most complex organ in the human body, but the driving instrument behind everything a person does in their life. If an object is dropped in your home right now while you are alone, you are faced with two options: investigate or remain still. Which one do you choose? Next time this happens, or you hear a sound, think to yourself, what is making me nervous? The initial sound that was created while nobody was around, or the lack of sound that comes after? In moments like these, I am reminded of the true power of our minds. The things that I can perceive may be scary, but the long-term scare comes from the things I can't perceive. It's a slow dread that creeps up on you without any power or way to actually fight back. Despite what option you picked earlier, your mind is subconsciously focused on what you weren't able to discover despite what you did. The horror genre is usually littered with cheap jump scares, which isn't to say that they can't be good, it's just most of the time that's all there is to offer. Horror, whether movie or game, is difficult to do right and risky to make. On one hand, there's a large demographic of people who can't stomach the genre and its discomforts. This leads to profits generally being hard to make unless your horror game is already mainstream or has already pretty much obtained a level of fame. So, to make a horror game that is ideal to reach widespread attention and fame, you have to tap into all the cogs that make horror games function and feel well strung together. Atmosphere, jump scares, enemy design, combat design, and of course, what I feel is most important, sound design, are all crucial aspects to nail in order to make the perfect horror game. This is why a game like Silent Hill 2 works and why it's brilliant in its execution. Released in North America on September 24th, 2001, and years later an incredible remake released on October 8th, 2024, Silent Hill 2 is the best example of the impact of the mind in a multi-layered attempt from story to atmosphere, and yes, there will be major spoilers in this video, so beware. Silent Hill 2 makes you assess your psychology every second of the game and calls into question your own humanity as you progress with the sole mission: find James' wife Mary in their special place. James spends the majority of his time venturing through the town of Silent Hill, a town consumed by fog that depicts itself as your worst fears, guilts, and sorrows. It's quite literally a physical and mental symbol of your own mind's greatest challenges. The town is quiet, deserted, and plays to what I believe is a masterclass in the horror genre. Again, jump scares when done right are highly effective, but sound design is what really brings a horror game to the next level. Well-designed horror can come in two forms: loud and brash, or the lack of sound that arguably makes for a more tense situation. Your senses in Silent Hill are cut off. You are alone, or so you think. You can't see through the thick fog which silences your vision and leaves you at bay to your imagination. There is a reason showing the monster in a movie commercial is a good way to cut the excitement and fear versus leaving it up to the audience's interpretation. Lastly, intercepting your ability to hear leaves you to your own thoughts and paranoia of the slightest noises you can perceive. Is it environmental, or is someone trying to kill me? Or something? You can scream, but nobody is coming to save you. You are left alone to face your own dread by yourself, and this is where the brilliance of psychological horror shines when done correctly. James is burdened with the deep regret of killing his wife, Mary. His wife had fallen ill with something incurable. The many doctor visits, lack of intimacy, and mental strain of seeing what his wife had become versus what he had known did a lot to his happiness and well-being. Although the true person suffering was Mary, James was left with pure desperation and a feeling of guilt for developing emotions like resentment and hatred for not only seeing his wife deteriorate in front of him, but the constant dependency she had on him for care. In this situation, James makes the decision to kill his wife via suffocation to relieve himself of these burdens, or, depending on how you see it, relieve her of her suffering. Regardless of what angle you believe is right or what you believe his true motivation was, the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, Mary dies at the hands of her husband. James ventures to Silent Hill on a quest of unaware self-discovery and to tackle the guilt of the aftermath of this tragic event. His mind manifests many clues to Mary's whereabouts, leading him back to their special place at a hotel where they spent time together in Silent Hill. James manifests a plethora of creatures that play on some of his mind's deepest repressions. The two examples I will speak about are Pyramid Head and the Nurses, which are some of the most iconic enemies within the entire franchise. The Bubblehead Nurses are a constant reminder of the miserable times he spent with his wife while she was locked away in a hospital awaiting an inevitable fate. The Nurses, while grotesque, are also dressed sexually in a way to symbolize his repressed lust he felt during his wife's illness and the guilt it made him feel, putting needs such as those at the forefront at times while she suffered. Pyramid Head is a stalker archetype of character. He is the manifestation of James' guilt and serves as constant punishment by following James throughout the entire game, as well as harming those he cares about and even other enemies in the game. He is a constant reminder that no matter what James does, he will always have to face the internal guilt he has for murdering his wife. While not literally silent, but figuratively, the game does a good job by sending information to the player through forms of symbolism, quietly enabling the player to learn what things mean rather than just putting it directly and obviously in front of their face. This reinforces the idea of whether it's literally silent or nonchalantly put right in front of us. It activates the most curious parts of our imagination, leaving more room to actually be frightened. The game features supporting characters, but the ones I will talk about the most are Maria, Eddie, and Angela. Maria is healthy and she is alive, but she is a depiction of his wife, Mary. She is filled with energy, she's a smartass, and she tries to lead him astray of his goal continuously. She serves as a distraction of what he wishes Mary was, ignoring the reality of what she became. She accompanies him through certain parts of his journey of Silent Hill, but ultimately continuously meets the fate of the character she is supposed to embody time and time again: death. Eddie is a character in Silent Hill facing the dehumanizing aspects of bullying, and instead of successfully overcoming this, he grows violent and sees all people as an enemy, resulting in a later conflict with James, who must become violent against him despite trying to move on from his own violence that he once committed. Angela, who is the most important of the characters in my opinion, is that of a character whose world is always burning around her. She is constantly afraid, depressed, and hates herself. She has no hope for herself and turns to suicide as she believes it is the only way out of this cycle. She is the opposite of James, as a character who succumbs to everything that has happened to her, while James is constantly seeking a way out and redemption. It's truly tragic, and I hope once you play this game you are able to see just how much of an impact these characters had on the story, James' story. My favorite location of Silent Hill 2 is actually the part after you've completed the Brookhaven Hospital. This is when the town is shifted into the otherworld version of itself, which I'll explain. Upon learning truths, James is met with the otherworld, which is an altered perception of his own reality. Terrain is decayed, visuals are typically dark and grim, and the Silent Hill that we once known for with its fog goes from this very eerie, quiet place to that of something looking out of a nightmare, straight out of a nightmare, which is typically traditional horror visuals. Venturing through these streets, you can hear nothing but the sound of heavy rain hitting the ground and the occasional cry of a monster lurking, ready to harm James. Your radio begins to pick up static when enemies are near, being the only thing separating you from the dark and your potential death. The combination of environmental design, sound design, and the overall tension from the music are incredibly incorporated into this environment, truly creating the darkness that lurks in our mind. Seeing things for what they are important to human growth. James gets a taste of this when he watches the videotape in the Lakeview Hotel that puts on full display what he did to his wife right in front of his own eyes. Although James is seeking redemption and now has his answers, it never seems to change Mary's outcome. She is stuck in a continuous cycle of suffering and impending death no matter what direction or choice he makes. Whether it's by the hands of James, the blade of Pyramid Head, or the illness that makes her continuously face her mortality, she will always be confronted with the reality that she is not to be of this world, and sadly, never truly belonged in it. Mary, in my eyes, appears to be a symbol of frustration, desperation, and fear. When you finally find Mary in the Lakeview Hotel, she tries one more attempt to win over James, to which he quickly realizes that is not in fact his wife. It's Maria trying to continuously distract him and lead him astray by trying to look exactly like Mary. Interestingly enough, James has had enough, and in his quest of seeking forgiveness and tackling his guilt, ends up fighting and killing Maria as the final boss. And this boss battle, in my opinion, is worthy of its praise for the amount of quiet symbolism it displays, as James' full-on emotional growth is on display as he fights head-on the thing that has plagued his mind for the longest. Upon completing this fight, depending on your ending of course, you are met with a depiction of Mary in her bed withering away from her illness. James tries to speak to her and apologize for everything as she tries to reassure James that it's okay and she forgives him. After their final moment together, there are two endings in which it's up to you, the player, to decide which one is the true ending, so to speak. The ending where he leaves town with Laura, a small girl who befriends Mary when she was alive, escaping Silent Hill, or James committing suicide in a lake after succumbing to his own guilt. When it comes to which ending I believe is real or not, even though I appreciate both, I often choose the latter, given I feel the story sadly does not have a happy resolution. The most emotional and heart-wrenching part of this entire game is when Mary's voice plays over both of these endings as she reads a letter that was for James depicting the final moments of her life, the emotions she felt, and the burden she doesn't want James to feel for everything that happened, as she wishes he would remember her for who she was and not what the illness made her become, as she hopes for the suffering she put him through for not to have happened at all, how she will always love him despite their life together ending suddenly, and as she explains that as she lies in bed, withering away, day by day, she experiences restless dreams where she sees the town, Silent Hill. She just wanted everything to be different, as did James. The horror genre is truly something special. Games having the ability to invoke raw emotion as well as keep players sitting in place because they are genuinely frightened by what comes next is truly impressive. Imagine playing a video game and not wanting to push forward, right? Right. Over time, the genre has been criticized by fans for not being nearly as innovative as it has been in the past, but I also think that is a product of it becoming increasingly harder to actually scare people who have experience with almost every type of scare you could think of. Through experience comes a need for more innovation, but I also believe playing into the strengths of horror games that have already been developed is just as strong, and sound design combined with good environmental design helps elevate a horror game experience, making it so that cheap jump scares or horrific enemy designs do not have to carry the game by itself. Humans are more afraid of what they can't perceive and understand a lot of the time, more so than what is actually right in front of them. This is why, in my opinion, psychological horror is likely to be the scariest among the genre, but it is also the most difficult to execute well. Konami had a gem on their hands, with the Silent Hill franchise, of course. For the longest time, fans yelled and begged for more entries in the series, after Konami seemingly kind of bowed out of making video games altogether. It felt like the series would never get another chance to display the brilliance that it was remembered for through especially the peak of the franchise's earliest entries. Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 are considered some of the most important games in the entire history of the horror genre. And so when Konami finally revealed they would be outsourcing the development of a Silent Hill 2 remake to Bloober Team, fans were incredibly excited and were delivered a game that blew past any expectations while honoring the source material. Alongside this reveal, we got a new Silent Hill game, The Short Message, as well as learned of a brand new game being set in Japan instead of the West for the first time ever. Right now is an incredible time to be a fan of Silent Hill because Konami has recognized the power and importance of this IP and is really committed currently to delivering not only new experiences, but experiences that also honor the past legacy of prior Silent Hill titles. Silent Hill F looks incredible, and I can't wait to see what twist on the series is included given the game will be in Japan for the first time. The visuals and atmosphere look top-notch for a next-gen game, but the story that can come from this is what I am most interested in given how good Silent Hill stories usually are. Also, how clever their use of symbolism is as well. I also can't forget to mention Silent Hill 1 is also being remade by the Bloober team, which is going to be a treat for those who were upset that the first remake was the second installment in the franchise. Psychological horror is back on the map, and I feel the next few years are going to be incredible for the genre. The horror genre is one of my truest passions in life. My favorite horror movie is a slasher that goes by Scream. I'm sure you know of that. And my favorite horror game is actually Resident Evil 4, with Silent Hill 2 following behind it ever so slightly. Both games were rewarded with incredible remakes, and for that I am grateful for. In the end, I only want what's best for the genre, and I am happy to see so many indie developers taking up the torch to continue to innovate on what horror games are and what they absolutely can be. These are games I will always take the time to support when I see them and when they interest me. I often think about the loss of Silent Hill PT. When playing it, I believed it was going to be a game that pushed the horror genre to new heights and to a new level of mainstream never have been seen before. As I stated before, and time again, good sound design and atmosphere do wonders for these games, and PT did it in quite a way that I never felt or saw before. The continuous dread upon every moment and decision, all confined into one narrow area. For a demo, it accomplished a lot more than a lot of full-fledged game releases, and I think it's hard to capture brilliance like that again. Maybe I'll make a video on this game by itself one day, but I owe a lot to Silent Hill 2 and its remake for delivering a remarkable experience that captures multiple aspects of that brilliance and delivers it to a modern and classic audience. Our mind is our most powerful asset. It can blur the line between reality and fiction, and it can take us to achieve brilliant heights. In the aspect of horror, it constantly challenges that brilliance we hold and holds the mirror to us to shine a light on our weaknesses and most vulnerable moments. Any aspect of these games that can challenge these parts of us, in my opinion, are powerful. And it is why I believe horror games are the most emotionally provoking genre in the existence of entertainment through media. Silence is our mind's worst fear and horror design's greatest ally. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like and of course comment down below what game you would like to see me talk about next. And if you'd like to see me play any of these games live, be sure to follow my Twitch channel. I would greatly appreciate it. This is NAKAT. Take it easy. Peace out. Much love. Deuces.